Assalamu alaikum again, alhamdulillah. This is segment 4, and it's actually on day 4 of our introduction to the Sacred Life Project. Alhamdulillah, we thank you for checking in with us. What we're going to do is continue. So, when we talk about the sacred life, we know now that the sacred life is the human life. And also, we want you to understand that all of these things have these layers that the project itself is actually going to go into and get under. But I want you to get into the frame of mind to understand that the way that words are used, of course, in the Quran, of course, in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and also by Imam Muhammad rahimahullah alayhi, they are not only what those words mean in a basic sense. They're not only what those words mean in the particular sentence that we find them, but those words have meanings that go beyond what's right there on the surface. And let's just take life as an example. Well, actually, let's go back. Let's take sacred first. Let's take sacred first. And this particularly is a way of looking at words the way that Imam Deen Mohammed taught us. You know, underlying all of this is the truth inside the science that Imam Muhammad gave when he said words make people. You know, that wasn't just for a time, and it wasn't just something that was supposed to be like a slang or popular saying, even though it did become popular and it was fundamental to the transformation of the Nation of Islam at that time. But it was actually science. It is actually science. Words do make people. We are a product of words. But among the other things that Imam Muhammad taught us with regard to the power and the significance of words is that, you know, these words are oftentimes anagrams for other things. That is that, you know, if you take and you rearrange some of these words, you'll get meaning inside of it that, you know, you otherwise would not have gotten. And he let us know that this society, its language was constructed for a particular purpose by particular people, and that's the way it's done. I mean, once people understand the science of humanity and how human beings evolve and grow, then they understand that it's in the power of words. And so they actually create vocabulary. They create words that are designed to move the population in the direction that they want the population to move in. They create words that are actually carriages or you know, let's call them memory trunks or chests, that meaning is put inside of those words in order for it to be preserved for the people of that language, the people of that society that gave birth to that language. That's how it's done. There's nothing wrong or illicit about it, except the fact that there are those who can manipulate you through your ignorance of your own language and your ignorance of their language. And this is one of, again, the great blessings of Imam Muhammad, is that he taught us this. I mean, the very fact that we're telling you this now, how can we tell you this? Well, we tell you this because Imam Muhammad told us, and that was a great blessing. So I said I was going to mention about life, but actually, sacred actually comes before that. Sacred, you look at sacred, you'll find that sacred is actually an anagram. We're talking about the English word. It's an anagram, meaning that it's letters. You rearrange those letters and you get another word out of it. And sacred is an anagram for scared. An anagram for scared. The same words, same letters, SACRED. It can be SCARED. Scared, sacred. And what is scared? Scared is fear. Fear, right? Fear, when we're talking now in the sacred sense, there's a sacred fear, right? And the sacred fear is the fear of God. So now we don't fear God. Imam Muhammad, when he translates the term taqwa, he translates it as regardfulness, because the way that that fear is taken, especially if a person hasn't disconnected from the misperception that we mentioned in the last segment regarding the human nature and about God and his relationship to the human being, that God cursed the human being from the very beginning, from the outset, for failing to, for making a mistake in the very beginning. And so therefore, you know, that kind of God, yeah, it would make you scared in that sense. And while Allah, God, does warrant and is justified in receiving that kind of fear, that's not the primary relationship that he wants us to have. He wants us to have a sacred relationship with him. Well, the sacred relationship with God in Al-Islam is taqwa. Taqwa. And this taqwa, yes, you can translate it fear, but semantically, you got to dislodge it from this horrific idea that God is so mean, God is so mad, he is so easily upset that you got to be scared of God all the time. And believe it or not, those of you who are involved in religion at all, you know that there are people who live under God in that way. They live under God just in constant fear that he is in some way going to punish them, torture them, deprive them of something. Alhamdulillah, in Al-Islam, all that is removed. If the formula perception of Allah is Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, the gracious, the merciful, some say. Imam Muhammad, again, speaking of his language. That's why it's important to get his language, because there's a transformation in psychology that happens with the understanding of the language. The merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. In both of those terms, you get mercy, mercy. Merciful benefactor, merciful redeemer. So when we have that, we have a sacred fear for God, not a horrific fear of God. We have a sacred fear, this awe for God. You know. So in terms of that, that's the key thing. Now, when we talk about life, life is not just life is there's the life itself that is in the way that it exists. So when we say human life is the sacred life, okay, it's that life. It's not even moving. We got to get a little abstract. It's not even. It's just there. You're looking at it. Okay, that's the sacred life. And then there's the sacred life in motion, which would mean living the sacred life. The sacred life is an intention of God for human beings. And then there is the life that's lived with respect for that nature. And that is the sacred life. So sacred life is a created reality by Allah that has a direction, has an intention, has a goal, has a destiny. And then there's the sacred life as it is lived out by the people who embrace that reality from God. So the Sacred Life Project is about doing that. It's about identifying what that sacred life is as defined by God before it even sets in motion. Understand it in its nature, ontologically. Some of you out there understand that word. If you don't, make sure you get a dictionary. Ontologically, the ontological reality of the human being, the fitri reality of human being, the way the human being was conceived, the blueprint that Allah has for human beings, and all that again be elaborated on. But then there's also the lived life, the lived existence, and that's the goal. The Sacred Life Project is about learning what it is and learning how to live it, and in that way we are completely in line with what Allah intends for the human being. Literally, you might say, on the railroad tracks to the destiny of that, called, of course, more specifically in Al-Islam, Sirat al-Mustaqim, the straight path to the destiny. So inshallah, thank you for checking in. Inshallah, tomorrow we'll be adding a little bit more to our daily journal. God's peace be on you. Ramadan Mubarak. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.